This is the Yankees POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the New York Yankees. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
All right, extra innings have not been kind to the Yankees this season. Tonight, no exception whatsoever. Reds beat the Yankees 5-4 in 11. Yanks actually took the lead in the top of the 11th. Aaron Judge scored on a wild pitch. That made it 4-3. Mark Leiter Jr. unable to lock it down in the bottom of the 11th as the Reds score twice. They go from one down to one up and beat the Yankees 5-4 and 11. As we said, the Bombers now 1-6 in extras this season. Hello, everybody. I'm Jay Berman. If you're a New Yorker, you might recognize my work. If not, welcome aboard. I've spent more than 2 decades in the biz, everything from TV to web to radio. Glad to have you aboard. Please follow me on X as well at Jay Berman, Jayberman. Welcome to the Locked On Yankees postcast, both on the Locked On Yankees YouTube channel and the Locked On Yankees podcast feed. The postcast gives you a place to chat after every single Yankee game. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, as we said, an excruciating loss for the Yankees. As we told you last night, very interesting series the last couple of years between the Reds and Yankees, and it gets even more interesting this year. If you recall, in 23, there was a sweep. In 24, there was a sweep. And now in 25, the Reds have a chance to sweep. In fact, the Reds have beaten the Yankees 5 straight times. They swept them last year over the 4th of July holiday, and they've already beaten them twice here as they go for the sweep tomorrow. For what it's worth, the Reds haven't been swept this season, not once. And obviously they won't this series either. So the Yanks have lost 9 of 12. Over those 12 games, this is an amazing stat, they've scored just 34 runs. That includes the 4 tonight. They've scored 3 runs or fewer in 8 of the 9 games. Tonight was the only time they scored more than 3 runs in those 12 games, and they still lost. Not sure what else to say. As we told you at the top, Yanks now 1-6 in extras. Believe it or not, since 2020, when they implemented the ghost runner on the road, I know this is specific, but on the road, the Yanks have the worst record in extras in baseball during that span. It takes us back to 2020 when they implemented the ghost runner rule. The Yankees on the road are 13-27 with the ghost runner since 2020, as we said. And again, that's the worst road record in extras since the ghost runner has been implemented. For what it's worth, and just to point it out, Yanks have the best record in extras at home with the ghost runner. So obviously strategy has something to do with that, because the Yanks just can't seem to get the job done in extras on the road. Now, some interesting stats about that as we get deeper into this. The Yanks have scored their automatic runner as the road team in extras one time this season, and that was tonight, and they still lost. They had either stranded that runner in scoring position or he was thrown out on the base 7 times. 7 times before tonight. They actually scored tonight, and they still lost. And by the way, another amazing stat, as we got plenty of them tonight. The Yanks are now hitting 0-4-0. Not even on the interstate. They're on the country roads, the county roads. 1 for 25 in extras on the road this year. 1 hit in extras on the road this year in 25 at-bats. That's as bad as it gets. You want to feel even worse about things? How about this stat? The Reds are just 2-6 in extras. That was their second win of the season. The Reds, when trailing after 6 innings, which was the case tonight, they were 0 for 30. 30 times they were trailing after 6. They lost every single one of those games until tonight. They're now 1 for 31 Amazing stuff, isn't it? The Yankees had 3 runs on the board in the 4th inning. It started with a Ben Rice home run and then the 2-run triple from Anthony Volpe. Figured that was enough, especially the way Carlos Rodon was pitching, and we'll get to him in a second. But again, the Reds plated 3 in the bottom of the 7th. That clearly off of Jonathan Loaisiga, who struggled tonight. But again, it's been the story of the season so far in extras. The Yankees are just not there. All right, as for Rodon, interesting times because he was pulled after just 88 pitches. He goes 6 strong, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, lowers his season ERA below 3 to 2.92. Now, obviously, this is hindsight, but at the time, it was a first guess. All felt like Carlos Rodon was yanked a little early. Again, just 88 pitches. Well, Jonathan Loaisiga lasted a third of an inning. He got 1 out, 3 hits, 3 runs, a walk. Believe it or not, he only threw 18 pitches, and the damage was done. Fernando Cruz had to come on and settle things down in that 7th inning, which he did. Unfortunately, eventually we got to Mark Leiter Jr. because the bullpen is taxed big time. And Mark Leiter Jr. failed to get an out in that 11th inning. He got all 3 outs in the 10th inning, and obviously he was weary at that point in time and ran out of gas. It was clearly obvious, could not register an out. He takes the loss, not that it was his fault, but again, Jonathan Loaisiga was the problem tonight, and the bullpen is beaten up. Luke Weaver pitched tonight. Devin Williams pitched tonight. Fernando Cruz pitched tonight, in addition to the other 3 pitchers we told you about. So that bullpen needs help. Tonight was the night to get it. Carlos Rodon at 88 pitches, rifling through that Reds order. I don't get it. I don't get it. And this is not a Clark Schmidt yanking him with a no-hitter intact. Apples and oranges. Very, very different. Clark Schmidt should have been pulled. Carlos Rodon should not have been. And that's where we are right now. Again, we don't get the opportunity to listen to Aaron Boone's post-game press conference before we come on the air with you. So we kind of just have to assume. And we're assuming that he'll answer questions for that, but it felt like a mistake. All right, as for the lineup, just one player had more than 1 hit. And wouldn't you know it, it's Jazz Chisholm, who, of course, gets ejected. As for Jazz, I'll say this. Was the pitch a strike? No, it was not. But Jazz has got to let it go. It was on so many levels, he's got to let it go. First of all, it was 2-0. The strike made it 2-1. In no way is he out of the at-bat, but he quit. He absolutely quit on the at-bat because he was so upset. After that, jarring all the way back to the dugout, Mark Wegner, by the way, the home plate umpire, who, believe it or not, showed quite a bit of patience. So Jazz is now in the dugout, screaming, comes back out, jawing again, and of course he gets tossed in between the 8th and 9th inning. And then, of course, he has to be restrained and then literally dragged down into the tunnel from the steps of the dugout because he could not cool down. Jazz, it was 1 strike. And to be fair, Elly De La Cruz in the inning before, that same pitch below the box, it was called a strike. So to be fair, he was calling that pitch a strike all night. Now, was it a strike? No. But how many times have you heard a player or players in general talk about consistency and their fear of lack of consistency when it comes to umpiring? Well, I don't know what else to say. Jazz lost it, and you give him a pass because it doesn't happen very often, but it seems silly. You put everybody in a bad spot. One, you put your manager in a bad spot because he doesn't want to get tossed, but he's got to defend you. 2, you put the players who have to literally drag you away in a bad spot. And then, of course, JC Escarra's got to play third base. So Jazz blew it. He blew it on many levels. Now, as for the starting pitcher on the Cincinnati side, Chase Burns, we've heard quite a bit about him, the number 2 overall pick from last year's draft. Well, what a start he had. Struck out the first 5 batters he faced. The first 6 outs, all strikeouts. 3 in the first, 3 in the second. He ended up striking out 8 in 5 innings of work. Obviously gave up all 3 Yankee runs in the 4th inning, the home run to Rice, which was a mistake. And then the 2-run triple to Volpe. It's honestly, at that point, the game to me felt over, especially with Rodon there. But again, the Yankees only allowed him to go 6. By the way, Rodon now has 5 games with at least 6 innings pitched and no runs allowed. Tonight was another one of those. He's the only pitcher, the only pitcher with more than 5 games with 6+ innings pitched and no runs allowed, Tarek Skubal, who, of course, is one of the best pitchers in the sport as well. All right, we'll take a break. We'll do the schedule. We'll do the probables and a very important rehab update. We'll tell you who it is coming up on the other side. All right, guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rougiette Ready. Rougiette Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pills that can take hours, Rougiette's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue and kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. I love that it's completely online. Rougiette connects you with a board-certified doctor and ships your treatments discreetly to your door. Head to rougiette.com/LockedOnMLB and use code LockedOnMLB to get 15% off today. That's Rougiette, RUGIET.com/LockedOnMLB. Use promo code LockedOnMLB for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but are not FDA approved and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rougiette website for full safety information. All right, up next, Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? Well, with Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and also control over all of your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. If you've ever wished you had all your accounts and spending in one place, Monarch Money is for you. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LockedOnMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Again, LockedOnMLB at monarchmoney.com. That's monarchmoney.com. Code LockedOnMLB for half off your very first year. All right, these have been difficult of late, but we'll give it a shot.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
We'll give it to Carlos Rodon, who did not figure in the decision. Again, the decision to yank him after 6 innings was a poor one by Aaron Boone. Again, we don't have access to the post-game show because this is a post-game show, and we get on the air as soon as the game ends, which is advantageous for you, the listener. Your chance to vent, your chance to commiserate. Well, we'll do that tonight. And despite the fact that it was a mistake yanking him, Carlos Rodon gets the game ball tonight. 6 innings, 4 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 5 Ks. And again, just 88 pitches. His ERA on the season now, 2.92. All right, here's an interesting one. Marcus Stroman's rehab start at AA Somerset. Yikes. 3 2/3, 10 hits, 5 earned, 2 walks, 1 K, 65 pitches thrown, 41 for strikes. Again, 5 earned, 10 hits, and 3 2/3. Now, can't take these too seriously, but you'd rather him retire batters than not. So we'll have to wait and see. There's most likely at least 1 or 2 rehab starts left before we see Stroman in the major league rotation. All right, Max Fried and Brady Singer are your starters for tomorrow as the Yanks try to avoid the sweep at the hands of Cincinnati. Fried has been great, obviously. Brady Singer gets the start for Cincinnati. It's the final game of the set. Yanks return home for 3 this weekend with Oakland. The Athletics, of course, that was going to happen. Technically, the Sacramento A's, technically the Las Vegas A's, whatever you want to call it, they're in town. Friday night is a fireworks night, by the way. So 3 with the Athletics, then 4 in Toronto, and then 3 with the Mets over the 4th of July holiday. Again, 5-4, the final score as the Yanks fall to 45-34 on the season. All right, thanks for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also want to mention our partners in crime at Locked On Yankees, Stacey Gotsulias and Brian McKeon. Again, they handle all the stuff at Locked On Yanks. So follow, subscribe, and enjoy. 5-4 in 11, the final score. Yanks lose again in extras. Again, 11 innings, 5-4. The Reds win it. Yanks will try to avoid the sweep tomorrow night. And of course, we'll be with you immediately following the game. Have a great night, everyone.